Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the latest episode of the M Squared Power Hour. I am one of your hosts, Joe Matthews. On the line, as always, we have Mr. Andy Minton.
What's up?
And our super producer, Joey Emmerich.
What up?
And as always, we have an excellent show for you guys tonight. It's going to be really cool, really fun, talking about some sports. Finally, got some sports going on to talk about. And then a nice face segment. We're going to talk about some cool stuff. We'll get to that in a minute. But before all of that, I'm going to go ahead and throw it over to Andy Minton, or Mr. Andy, as they call him in the South. And
Reverend.
To cover Reverend. to go over our social media stuff.
Yeah, you can find us on social media, on Twitter and Instagram at M2_Power Hour, and on Facebook at M2.Power Hour. And there's also where you can find us on YouTube. And you can find us on any podcast platform, like Apple, Google, Spotify. Check us out. Catch a video on YouTube. We got Faces Made for Radio.
We definitely do have Faces Made for Radio.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, check us out on all that stuff, but also comment, join in the conversation. Because, again, we don't want this just to be us talking to you guys. We want you to join in the conversation. So leave us reviews, and the offer still stands. Our first review that's not my review on Instagram or Spotify, I will rap. So hit us up, leave us a review, and you'll get your first glimpse, possibly, of Ice Tray if you've never heard him before.
And I will say, it's not like Joey is this white dude who thinks he can rap. He actually can rap pretty well.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not Eminem or anything like that, but...
No, I'm the nerdy Eminem. Or is it the caramel Eminem that comes out?
Okay.
I lost you.
I don't know. More of the cheesy Eminem right now.
That's true. That is so true.
All right, so let's just get into some sports, because we have sports to talk about. Because for a long time we had to make up things to talk about sports-wise, but the NBA has been back, and they're playing in the bubble. Have you all watched any of the bubble games?
Unfortunately, no. There's a reason I'm going to be really quiet for the next couple minutes. So, no.
I've watched about 6 or 7 bubble games, but I watch the replays where they've got the highlights, 15 minutes each game.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier to watch 15 minutes of a game than 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah, I like it. First, I will say, when I first heard that they were going to do the video board of Zoom fans, I was not a fan of that idea.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like the video board that they've done, the Zoom fans that they have watching the game. And I think my favorite is Deuce Tatum, Jason Tatum's 2-year-old. Because he's not like he's just on there doing whatever. Dude watches the game. He is watching the game.
Yes.
I will.
And he also does not have a bedtime, because he was watching. They had a 9 o'clock tip, and he was there the entire time.
I will say I brought it up to my staff at the church, and we were talking about that. And one of the staff members said, "Well, it's sad when the most dedicated fan to the NBA is a 2-year-old."
Now, I will say, and they always seem to put him over Kemba Walker's mom. She's pretty entertaining to watch, too.
See, now I haven't seen anything of Kemba Walker's mom, but I've seen a lot of Jason Tatum's son on Twitter. I've seen little GIFs and little videos of him. So
I'll say this: Deuce Tatum is more interested in the basketball games than Paul Pierce.
Oh,
I will say though, I've enjoyed that aspect of it, but I've enjoyed. It feels like in the bubble, because the fans aren't actually there, even though they've got them virtually there, because they're not actually there. The refs are able to actually make better calls and be on top of their game. Because, I mean, LeBron James is getting called for travels.
Technicals.
technicals from the bench.
From the bench. Like, stuff's happening. The refs can hear what players are saying now about them instead of. And the other thing, too, is refs aren't afraid of trying to hide getting back to their car without a fan trying to kill them because they don't like the call they made.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you would like to think as a ref, I'm not sure the refs think they don't make favor calls towards one way or the other. But when you've got that many people yelling at you, it's got to be difficult not to.
Right.
Yeah. The refs definitely are influenced by the home crowd more times than not.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're, I guess, playing in a city like Atlanta where there's not a lot of Hawk fans.
True.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a Braves fan, so I love the city of Atlanta, but there's a lot of other fan bases in the city, especially NBA.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of, just getting off track, but that's kind of a central hub of teams all around them.
Right.
Because you got all the Florida teams, you've got the Grizzlies, all of that. Although I don't know, they probably don't have any Grizzly fans in Atlanta.
All the Florida teams. How many Florida teams are there in an NBA, Joey?
There's two.
Yeah.
Miami, Orlando.
Orlando. I forgot about Orlando.
Boom.
Yeah.
You can't get me on that one.
I will say that I do like that the fact that they kind of make the home court. Of course, you can't mimic their home court in the different arenas, but they do put it more specific to the team that is the home team in the bubble. Like it's not just a generic NBA logo.
Mm-hmm.
I do like that.
Well,
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Talking about that, we're getting ready to head into not the finals, but the actual playoffs now, right? It's all lined up. I think there's one game this weekend that's going to get played, maybe two, to determine who gets in. But what do you guys think? Because normally home field advantage or home court advantage is a big deal in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Do you think it plays anything now, or is it just basically you got to be on your game, and whoever's got the best game wins? Because you take the home court out of it.
Well, I'll say this. I think, especially in the NBA, the stars are always gonna get calls to go their way. Specifically, Giannis was suspended for their last game, for the Bucks' last game, because of a headbutt. Now, you could argue that I think it should have been more than a game suspension.
Yeah, if
but
that was
they
J.R.
weren't gonna
Smith, that would have been a 5-game suspension, maybe more.
Right. And so, I mean, I think the league came down easy on him because they didn't want him to miss the first game of the first round of the playoffs. Right. Because, I mean, the game he missed didn't matter. And let's be honest, he was probably going to miss that game anyway. So, I don't see, LeBron getting a technical and getting and missing a game. Because don't forget, in the NBA playoffs, you get so many technicals, you are suspended for a game.
Oh, that's true. Isn't it, what, 2 or 3?
I think it's 4.
Was it 4?
Yeah, we'll have to research that because that's what happened to Draymond the year that the Cavs beat him. But yeah, but I don't see LeBron getting so many technicals that he has to miss a game because it's LeBron, and the same thing for Giannis. But so I think that will play into it. But you definitely won't have the home whistle like you do in the regular playoff situation.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's right. But I think even if it wasn't because normally if you were home court, if it was when it was Cleveland versus Golden State, if it was home court for Golden State, LeBron didn't get the whistle. But I think now, no matter where it is, home court or away, LeBron's going to get that whistle his way.
You should take your LeBron glasses off and watch LeBron get a whistle everywhere he goes.
No, but he doesn't get it as much. Like that, he gets it sometimes. I agree with you. He gets it more than he should. But he doesn't get it as much away as he does at home.
Well, that's true. And I will say this: Kobe used to be the same way. But one place Kobe did not get a whistle was in Boston. So, I mean, and Michael was the same way. Michael, you always have the guy that's the star. I mean, they're always going to get a whistle, favorable whistle to him. Mm-hmm. But, yeah. But the thing is, you got to admit that he gets a favorable whistle wherever he goes.
Yeah.
Oh, he does. I think it's becoming less now. I think you've got guys like Giannis is starting to take that golden boy status. And LeBron will always be in the conversation of greatest all time. But I think as face of the NBA, he's starting to lose that a little bit. Kind of like what happened with the Lakers and with Kobe. He was the face, and then towards the end of his career, slowly faded into the background.
Let's not forget what Joe said about LeBron. He's just Grant Hill with a title.
Yeah. Shut your mouth. But
okay, so the playoffs are starting. let's pick the games. Okay. So we'll start in the West because we actually have a playing game, and for nobody who knows what that is, it's something that they started. They're just doing this year. If they were within a game of each other, the 8 and 9 seeds in each conference would play at most a 2-game series. If for the example, Portland and Memphis are playing. Portland's the 8 seed, Memphis is the 9 seed. They play on Saturday. We're recording on Friday. It'll release on Sunday, maybe Monday. And if Portland wins, it's over. It's just a 1-game series. But if Memphis wins, they'll play again. So, Portland or Memphis? Can the team who has only won 1 game in the bubble
is that
win
Memphis?
2 to make the playoffs?
Nah, I'm going with Portland on it.
Yeah, I'm going Portland.
Yeah, I'm going Portland too.
Yep. Just because I like the Lakers-Portland matchup better. Just historically. Something about Lakers Trailblazers is always fun.
Yeah. That'll be a fun game. Or fun series, not game.
Fun series.
Yeah. Oh, and speaking of Memphis, who only won one game in the bubble, how about the Phoenix Suns, who won all their 8 games in the bubble, did not make the playoffs?
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Dang.
Who were they behind?
The Grizzlies.
Oh, that sucks.
They could not catch him.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I will tell you one team that didn't make it. Okay, one guy that didn't make it that I am so glad he didn't make it.
Zion.
Zion
Oh yeah.
is not in the playoffs. They tried. I mean, they gave him a shot to get in there, and they couldn't do it.
No.
Yep. Okay, so interesting. Guess which game Memphis won in the bubble?
Against the Lakers?
Nope. The Giannis-less Bucks.
Okay.
That's it.
It's a conspiracy.
That's funny.
But I will say, if the Grizzlies had lost that game, there would have been a 2-way tie for that spot, and I don't know who would have gotten the tiebreaker. I think Memphis would have got it anyway. But anyway. Okay. So we've got that game. So let's stay in the West, and we've got Portland moving on to play the Lakers in the first round of the playoffs. Who you got?
I mean, to me, that's not even a question. You got to go Lakers.
Yeah, Lakers all the way.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll pick the Lakers. Although I think Portland will give them a better series.
Yeah.
Than the Grizzlies would have.
No, it'll be a fun series for sure.
All right. This matchup is intriguing to me. In the 4-5, you got the Rockets versus the Thunder.
I'm like,
And it's interesting because you have James Harden and Russell Westbrook playing for the Rockets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They used to play together for the Grizzlies or the Thunder.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Rockets. I got the beard. You can't beat the beard.
I was leaning towards Rockets too.
I'm gonna go with the Thunder.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. I don't know. Something about James Harden when it comes to playoff time.
I was gonna ask, I'm like, how deep in the playoffs have Harden and Westbrook gone? Have they even won a series in the playoffs?
This is the first year they played together in
But,
Houston.
I mean, even when they were leaders of their teams, like how far were they able to go in the playoffs?
Yeah,
well, Harden's gone a little ways, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think they made it. I think they made it to the conference finals one year because they also had Durant on that threesome.
Yeah.
Playing with them. So, all right.
I will say, I think that's the series of the first round. That's the series to watch. I think it's going to be a fun one.
Yeah. There's a couple of. I think there's 2 good matchups in the East, but we'll get to that. Okay, the 3-6. You've got the Nuggets versus the Jazz.
Who's the 6th seed? Utah?
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I'll go Denver. I'll go the Nugs.
I've actually been kind of impressed with the Jazz. So I'm going to go Jazz.
I think I'm gonna go Jazz too.
Hmm.
I think Rudy Gobert is the difference maker in that series. Okay, the 2-7. Got the Clippers versus the Mavericks.
That's a no-brainer.
Yeah. I mean, talent-wise, you can't beat the Clippers, but the last couple of games, they look like they're having chemistry issues. So, but yeah, I'm gonna go Clippers.
Yeah, they've been having the chemistry issue, but whenever they play, like when I watch them play the Lakers, they're top of their game against the Lakers. So if they can just pull it together, they're a tough team to beat.
I'm gonna go with the Clippers. I just think, yeah. I mean, they're at some point talent is hard to beat. You know,
Yeah.
I think. Especially, I mean, Kawhi's been there, done that, won 2 titles. So
Yeah.
experience makes a difference, in my opinion.
And if you've got enough talent on your team, like you said, experience, but if you've got talent, they can carry you so far.
Right. Yeah.
Talent can get you through the first round.
Hey, LeBron has proven
Yeah.
talent can get you to the finals. Can't win you the finals, but it can get you there.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
All right. So, all right, let's move to the East. You got the 1-8 matchup. You've got the Bucks and the Magic.
Oh yeah. Bucks.
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 Yep.
All right. The 4-5. I think this is one of the intriguing matchups in the East. You've got the Pacers versus the Heat.
The Pacers have Oladipo back, right?
I'm checking.
Because I thought I saw him in one of the games recently.
But either way, the wild card in this one, no, Oladipo's still out. The wild card in this series is Jimmy Butler. He's got all the talent, but he's never been on a team that can get over the hump.
Right. I'm gonna go Miami.
Indiana with that Oladipo, I'm going Miami.
Okay, I'll be the outlier. I'll go the Pacers. All right, and the second intriguing matchup in the East, and not just because I'm a Boston fan, but because of the history between these two franchises. You've got the Celtics and the 76ers.
Oh, I'm going Boston all day on that one.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Boston too. And I'm going to go out and I say the Celtics win it in 5. And I think it's because Ben Simmons is out for the 76ers. And Joel Embiid is soft.
Yeah.
You're giving more credit to the Sixers than I am. I'm saying 4 games.
No.
Yeah. Dude, Tatum is on a tear.
I know. Like I sit and watch. And I'm like, he's good at basketball. I mean, he's good at basketball. And I will say this, and yes, I am a Boston homer, but when they played Toronto, it was the first time that now Kemba was still on his minutes restrictions, but they waxed the Raptors. And it was the first time this season where all of the Celtics stars were healthy playing together. And they looked good.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing too is because there won't be a home court advantage. Like if Philly had a home court advantage, at one point, like if they're at home in Philly, I'd give Philly 2 games. They'd win 2. But without a home crowd, Boston wins all 4 right off the bat.
All right. So if we go to the 2-7 matchup, we've got Toronto. We've got the Raptors versus the Nets.
Oh, I'm going Toronto.
Joey?
I'm going to go Toronto just because I don't like Kyrie Irving.
It don't matter. He's hurt anyway.
I don't care. I just don't like him. Whether he's hurt or not, he plays for him.
I don't like him, so I don't like his team.
Yeah. I was looking at the Nets roster, and Jamal Crawford is out. Kyrie Irving is out. Kevin Durant
Never came
he's
back.
out. Michael Beasley, he's out. And DeAndre Jordan, he's out. So I'm gonna go with the Raptors.
Yeah.
I will say the Nets could make a killer lineup on their injured list.
Yeah. I was just thinking that. I'm like, that's a really good
killer
team who's
starting
injured
5.
right now. Yeah. Yeah. You'd be worried about them if they're all healthy.
Yeah, but they'd have KD and Kyrie on there. That would hurt them right off the bat.
Yeah, and I will say, I was not a fan of Kyrie coming to the Celtics for the 2 years he was there. I was not a fan. So I was happy when he made his way to Brooklyn and Kemba made his way from Charlotte.
But I will say, I think what we should do, because I've got all of this written down and saved, I think we should do whoever has the least amount of points. We get 1 point for each game or each series we get right.
Okay.
And whoever's at the bottom has to do some sort of punishment.
Okay.
I'm down. Now, is this just for the first round, or are we going to continue this all the way through the playoffs?
Well, we'll do first round, we'll do a punishment. Second round, we'll do a punch. That way, each round will be its own thing.
Okay.
All right.
And I say, this is just an idea, but whoever gets first gets to pick the punishment.
Okay.
All right. We'll have to come up with ground rules off the air because I ain't shaving my head.
No. Yeah, we'll come up with ground rules, but
drink a cup of Tabasco or a shot of Tabasco or something.
Andy's gonna have to wear an Ohio State shirt that I mail to him and announce his allegiance to the Buckeyes or something like that.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen. Okay, so since we're doing that, let's go ahead and come up with let's go ahead and come up with a tiebreaker. Okay. And pick which teams we think are going to come out of each conference.
Oh, for the finals.
Yeah, for the finals.
Oh yeah, I think the finals are Boston, LA, Boston Lakers.
Okay.
Yep.
I agree.
Yeah.
You going Boston Lakers too?
I am. Because the Celtics are good when they're playing together.
I am gonna be different.
Oh.
No, Joe, you are different. Trust me.
Oh
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going Boston.
Boston.
Clippers. I think Clippers easily get past Mavs and easily get past Jazz, and I think the Lakers crumble. I think ego's getting away.
Interesting.
See, I would say that J.R. Smith gets in the way, but
he's the only thing that's going to keep that team together.
He's gonna call another timeout and have LeBron just staring at him, just in a different uniform.
Oh.
I will say though,
get to call a timeout.
But I think Clippers. I think they're going to get when their chemistry's on, Clippers are hot. Chemistry's off, everybody sucks. But when the chemistry's on, and I think they get the chemistry together after this first round, I think they turn the ship around. But
I will say I'm a big fan of Kawhi and Paul George.
Yeah.
Individually, just as players.
Yeah.
I still think Kawhi should have stayed in San Antonio, but
I don't get why you left San Antonio and then why you left Toronto.
Yeah.
You go and win a championship and go, I'm out.
No, let's be honest. I was glad he left Toronto. I was glad LeBron went to the West. But yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
Is Kawhi just going for a record of the most championships on different teams? Is there a record out there for that?
Yeah, LeBron has it for 2.
No. How many does Ori have?
2
Rockets,
teams.
Lakers.
Oh, was he on the Rockets team?
Yeah, he was on the Rockets.
Oh, okay.
He was young on the Rockets when they won with Olajuwon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then Lakers and then Spurs.
Okay. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So Kawhi and LeBron are both fighting for the tie with Ori?
Yeah.
I mean, there's got to be players that have won it with other teams.
Yeah.
That have been that's rode the bench or whatever, but
okay.
There was one player who won every title with LeBron. I don't remember his name, but he never played. He was just a bench guy, but he was on every title team that LeBron was on.
Let's say J.R. Smith.
No, it wasn't J.R. Smith.
Holy cow. Robert Horry has 7 championship rings.
I will say, talking about the number 7,
Lakers.
Yeah. I want to bring up another number, and that is 10. Okay, that is the worst segue I've ever done. But today for our fifth segment.
The sad thing is that's not the worst you ever will do either. I'm sure you can.
No, it's not.
But for our faith segment, over the next 10 weeks, we're going to talk about the 10 Commandments. And we're going to go one by one through them. And we're just going to talk about them and dive into them. And today, before we start the 10 Commandments and go into the first one, I want to just draw a parallel to something. Everybody knows, in the New Testament, Jesus is talking, and in Mark chapter 12, and you can find this in several different of the books of the New Testament, but Jesus talking and they ask him, what's the greatest commandment? And Jesus says, the greatest commandment is love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. The second greatest commandment is love your neighbor as yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And the craziest thing, and this is, I say that because what I want everyone to notice is a lot of people will say, well, that means the 10 commandments don't matter. We just got to follow those 2 commandments. When Jesus came, the 10 commandments are thrown out the door. They don't matter. That's the old covenant. We're in the new covenant. But here's the crazy part. If you look at the first 4 commandments, they fall under that love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last 6 fall under love your neighbor as yourself.
Yeah.
So we should still be following these 10 commandments. Like, if you follow the 10 commandments, it helps make it easier for you to be able to follow those 2 commandments. And kind of gives you guidelines on how to do that. So with that, what is the first commandment? Andy, what's the first commandment?
You shall have no other gods before me.
Kind of.
Kind of?
I wanted to do that. Yeah. Actually, if you look at it, because I'm going to be the technical guy today. In Exodus 20 and in Deuteronomy 5, he gives the 10 commandments in Exodus 20. Then you have the whole thing where he comes down the mountain. They're worshiping another god, and Moses gets angry and throws the only copy of the 10 commandments down and shatters it. So later, God gives him another copy of the 10 commandments, but he quotes it word for word the same way. And this is how he says it both times. Starting in verse 2 of chapter 20 of Exodus, he says, I am the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. You shall have no other gods before me. And I think it's important that first part is there. Because what it does is it sets up and says, I am God, and this is what I've done in your life. This is what you have seen me do.
I'm going to be technical for a minute.
Okay.
God did not give Moses the second set of tablets.
Nobody told him what to say.
Moses had to carve the second set of tablets.
Well, yeah, but he told him what to say again.
Well, I'm not disagreeing with you, but God did not.
Yeah. Well, God gave him the directive to make the second set of tablets.
So God was being a good father and saying, you know what? You broke the first ones.
Right.
So the second set, I'm going to make you do yourself, so you're going to appreciate it more.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyways, carry on.
Sorry, I just had to.
Oh, yeah, but basically, I'm the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt. Like he's saying, I have done this. Like I did this for you.
Mm-hmm.
Don't have any other gods before me. Like this is who I am. Remember it. Like that to me, that's what always stands out. Is he just basically says, "This is who I am. This is what I've done for you. Don't you forget it." That's what that first commandment, like when you break it all down, simplify it beyond what it's. I mean, it's already simple, but to the nature of it, that's what pops out to me.
Okay, so how do we take the first commandment and apply it to our lives today?
Well, I mean, first, are we taking it literal in the sense? Let me make sure. Okay, I thought I was muted still. Sorry. Are we taking
yes,
it in
we
the
are
literal?
taking it literal. Yes, we are.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean in the sense of, gods as in we're worshiping another god, or we're putting things between us and God, and we're making it more important than our relationship with God.
Well, what is a God?
Yeah,
That's probably the first
that's
question
basically what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and technically, and this is really a two-part episode, two-part segment, if you ask, in my opinion, because I think if you go back and look at the original Hebrew text, Commandments 1 and 2 were probably together. Commandment 1, do not have any other gods before me. And then Commandment 2 is, do not make an idol for yourself. So I think they go together. So yes, I mean, what is a god? I mean, if you want to look at it, you can't worship. Like when I think of that, I think of Hindus. Because if you do apologetics lesson, if you do apologetics and you look at Hindus, they're probably the one religion where you could get them to follow Jesus the easiest. The trick is for them not to follow the other gods that they have.
Right.
Because, I mean, you could say, well, he is God. It's like, okay, yeah, I'll worship, he's God, I'll worship him. But they're just adding him to a plethora of other gods that they already worship. And so
Right.
you would have to get them to abandon the other gods that they have that they worship. And so I think if you look at the first commandment, I think it's going more into that because they just came out of Egypt,
Mm-hmm.
who has gods for just about everything. Um, and um, and so I think in the first commandment, he's not so much looking at idols like we would think today, but these other gods, these other man-made figment gods that other nations worship. Like they don't, these practices do not need to come into your camp. Because if you read through Israel's history, they struggle with worshiping Baal.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my thoughts. But it quickly gets into other idols.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we can have that conversation twice, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'll have an interesting when we talk about this next week on what the whole idol thing is, but because it's a little bit different than most people's take on it, I think. Because like we pointed out already, I'm a little more different than everyone else. But
I got some interesting things to talk about next week too. So
yeah, it's gonna be you're not going to miss that. So if you're listening now, you're gonna want to check this out next week. But I want to say all that to say or ask and kind of throw this out there. When we say gods, does that then mean? Because a lot of times nowadays people get into talking about don't worship yourself. Like a lot of times we put ourselves above God. Is this commandment talking about that? Or even the love of money? A lot of people will worship money or success. Is that technically a God? Is that what this is talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think so. Because if you go back and look at Genesis in the garden, when Satan tempted Adam and Eve, he said, God doesn't want you to be like him. It's like, because there was a bunch of lie and a little bit of truth thrown in, because he said you weren't going to die. Well, no, they didn't die in the moment physically. They died spiritually. They later died physically.
Mm-hmm.
But what he said was, he said, God doesn't want you to be like him. And that was the only true thing he said. It's like, God doesn't want us to be like him. God does not want us to be like him because God wants to be the God of our lives. And since sin entered the world, we want to be God of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, yes, there was a little portion of that that's true that God did not want that for us, which is why we were created the way we were. And so I think there is that making a God of ourselves that goes back all the way to when sin entered the world, because that's what God did not want for us, and He still does not want for us.
Yeah, I agree. I think New Testament, one of the big things it goes into is like you can't serve a servant can't serve two masters.
Mm-hmm.
You can't serve God and money. You can't serve God and yourself. You can only serve one or the other because they're going to come into issue and bonk heads at one point.
Right.
Like you're going to have to make a choice.
Well, and here's one that infects the church today is you can't serve God and the ministry. A lot of pastors, their position becomes their God, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that happens a lot.
They put the self-importance, or they elevate themselves to too high of a level and forget that they're an actual servant.
Right.
And yeah, and I think too that happens, and that's a discussion I've had with people lately, because it's like we talk about leadership, church leadership, but I think people forget that leadership is through service and not through titles, not through elevating yourself, but through actual service and humbling yourself. And yeah, like you said, I agree. I think a lot of people take their ministry position and kind of deify themselves with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I will say I've had a conversation about this because, and this is what I've already been announced by this comes out. I'm taking on a senior ministry position, and I've had a lot of talks with people because as I've been telling people about this here at the church I'm at, oh, so you're stepping up, you're moving up the ranks in ministry. So I do too. Even though I'm about to be a senior minister, I'm like, no, I'm moving on to, but I'm not moving up to. I'm just changing the people I'm ministering to.
Right.
It's just a difference. And the big thing I thought of, and even told someone as I was talking about that with them, I said, my job is to lead by serving. So if I view myself as the top of the heap, how can I serve? Like, am I really serving if I view myself as the big honcho? There's no humility there. And I think that's the biggest thing is we need to work on that. And not just in that sense, but also as parents. Because all three of us are parents. A lot of people who listen to this are parents or work with teens or kids of some sort. And,
or have parents.
Parents, yeah. But the big thing, like I want to point out in that is we start to think that our family is the most important thing. And we almost worship our family and put our family above God.
Yeah.
And I think that's a dangerous thing because I don't know about you guys, but what I have noticed when that starts to happen is you start to teach your kids that family is more important than God.
Mm-hmm.
And you start to lead your kids away from God, which none of us wants that, but that's one of the slippery slopes you get down when you start to worship your family more than you worship God.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at Jesus and, his family thought he was crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, in that day, in that culture, if somebody was crazy, you kept them at home. I mean, today we let our crazy out. But in that culture,
yeah, we do.
in that culture, when they were, if they were out, and I don't mean like crazy as in goofy. I mean crazy as in like out of their right mind. And so when Jesus's family comes to him and say, "Hey, it's time to come home," they're like, "Hey, we got to get our crazy back in," so because he was not seen as in his right mind by his family for the longest part of his ministry. And Jesus even said that if you follow me, there will be conflict in the home. Like you must hate your father or mother. Doesn't mean you hate them, but it's, you should, your love for me should be so great that your love for your family seems very, very lacking compared to your love for me.
what it is your love for me will look like to the rest of the world like you hate me, like you hate others.
Mm.
You won't hate them, but they're going to think that.
Right.
I would say there's a wise man that I was listening to his podcast this week, and he kind of talked about that. It's a good podcast. I recommend checking out No Ordinary Joe. But he talked about how, like, putting boundaries up for his kids' sake around his parents and around his mom, that he had to do that, and a lot of people hated him for it. But he didn't do it because he hated his mom, but because he loved her and loved his kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what Jesus says is, if you're going to love me and do what you need to, it's going to look like you hate others.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's and one thing, I talked about too with that podcast was the courage that it takes to do that, because it's not easy. It's easy to fail because, when you focus solely on your family, you're focusing solely on God, and you start making God number one. There's a lot of people who are gonna you're gonna freak them out because you're no longer, the person they used to know, because you're trying to do something different. You're trying to grow in a different way. You're trying to in their minds, you're leaving them behind when you're really not. You're just trying to do what's best for you and your family.
Right.
And same thing. Like, if you love God so much, love Jesus so much, that it's going to look like you hate other people, because you're going to start setting up those boundaries. Like, sorry, I'm not participating in that, or I'm not doing this, or I'm not going to hang out there because it's wrong.
Yeah.
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 Exactly.
Takes a lot of courage and strength.
Well,
one of the book I'm reading. Book I'm reading. The author talks about his conversion, and he used to run with a group, and then once he was saved, once he repented, he kind of went into hiding. Like, he got rid of his cell phone and everything. And so when a member of his old crew he used to run with found him, he said, "Hey, let's go, let's go do this, let's go do that." And he's like, "That guy you're looking for doesn't exist anymore. He's gone." And it's it's when we talked about baptism, it's the being buried, your old life being buried, and you raise into a new life. That person, that old self, is dead, and so you should look different. Your life should be different. Your priorities should be different.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you guys this, because it sounds simple to say no other gods before me, but let's be honest, is it simple? If it was simple, how come Israel messed up over and over and over again? Are there some tips, like something maybe even in your guys' lives, that you do to keep God first? Yeah, I just sprung this on these guys. This wasn't like we had talked about it. I'm just throwing it out there.
Here's a tip for you guys. Marry a godly woman.
I was just thinking that.
I mean, and I kind of say that jokingly, but for real, because I have never had an accountability partner or somebody in my life that will hold me accountable like my wife.
Mm-hmm.
And I, not to sound cliche, but the second thing I would say is get involved in church, because I know, because with my circumstance, with being let go back in February, right before the pandemic started. I mean, for a long time we were not, and we were nomad. I mean, we didn't have a church, we didn't have that body, and I know, a lot of people didn't, but we didn't even have that to connect with online. Like, we were connecting, we were watching other sermons, but we still didn't have that connection.
Mm-hmm.
And so get involved with the church, even if it is just online. But if you can, meet with the pastor of that church. Do something, do it within in your community. Because we watched Long Hollow a couple Sundays. And I mean, I love Robbie Gallaty, but I mean, I couldn't call him up and ask him to go to lunch and talk or anything like that. And so, get involved with the church and surround yourself with people, with godly people, like-minded people. Yeah, that would be my advice.
I agree. I was laughing when you said, about the wife, but yeah, when you have that accountability partner, that person who loves the Lord as much as you do, or, and it wants to hold you accountable in a healthy way, that makes life a little easier because you have somebody who's on that path with you every step of the way.
Yeah. Well, not just on that path, but they know you the way you think too. Like,
unfortunately,
have you guys ever had your wives like you snicker at something and they go, "You're supposed to be thinking like that"? Like, crap. Okay, I'm not supposed to laugh at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I start giggling and I look up and she's staring at me. I'm like, never mind.
Just at dinner tonight. Our daughter does not like hot dogs. Okay, she does not like hot dogs. Says she doesn't like hot dogs. So I asked her what she had at lunch today. She said, I had corn dogs. I was like, and before it came out, like Misty, she's got her hand on my leg. Don't say it.
yeah. Just let it go. Let it go. That's funny because we have that same issue, or I've had that same issue with my children too. I don't like hot dogs, but they're eating corn dogs left and right. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna. They're eating. Okay, good.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and then my youngest daughter, she just heard me make a comment about it. She'll cook a corn dog. She doesn't like hot dogs, but she'll cook a corn dog, peel all the corn off it, eat the corn, and then eat the dog. But she doesn't like eating hot dogs. So
it's the stick. Anything
it's the stick.
Stick is okay.
So
if you put a stick in a hot dog, does that make it okay?
I guess so. Yeah. I know we're way off topic now, but
oh yes, we are. But anyway, I mean, yeah, that would be my advice. And
yeah,
and of course, and once you have all that, and once you do all that, jump into the Word. I'm not saying that getting in the Word is not important, but unless you have that accountability and that influence around you, it's hard to be in the Word every day. But it's hard to do it when you have that, because, and this is what we'll get into next week, I think, is all the other things in our lives that star for our attention.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Next week will be a good one. Well, this week's a good one too, but next week will be really good. Every episode's a good episode.
Oh yeah. Well, to end, as we come to the end on it all, if you like those points, or if you've got other points, maybe there's something you do in your life that helps you be able to keep Christ first and keep God first in your life, let us know. Jump on our social medias, put it down in the comments, put it in a review. We want to know what it is that you are like. How do you keep God first? The other thing too is, if you're listening to this and you've never put God first because you don't know God, or you've never had a relationship with God, I want to tell you the same thing that Moses does here, and in Deuteronomy, Moses even goes further and is like, hey, no, God tried to talk to you guys personally, so God wants a relationship with you. Same thing with you right now. You're sitting there, God wants a relationship with you. And he doesn't just want to say, I want you to put me first. He says, I want to be first in your life relationally. Like, I want to spend time with you. And if you don't have that, we want to encourage you, reach out to us. We would love to talk to you more about that, and we would love to hook you up with God. We'd love to give you the chance to have that relationship and tell you how you can have that. Joe, you want to pray us out tonight?
I will. All right. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for the day and opportunity we have to come together as Christian brothers and just discuss this topic and start delving into your commandments and what it is that you call us to be, Lord. We just pray for this nation, and we pray for everyone listening that they'll have health, good mental health, and you'll just be with us as we continue to grow in your word. In your name I pray, amen.